Okay, so in this tutorial we're going to look at how you can switch between cameras as you walk around an environment. Effectively what you're going to do is you're going to trigger the ability to switch cameras, and the trigger box that you walk into will either trigger a different view from a camera, and then it'll switch back to the player. Eventually you'll be able to switch between a view of yourself seen from another point of view with an animated character. But for the time being, what we'll do is we'll just focus on how do we switch between cameras. So here we have a basic scene where we've got the starting point where the player, the first person player which you've made before, spawns, and what's going to happen is when we walk into this area there'll be a trigger box which will start a static camera viewing this scene from a different vantage point, and then when you walk out of it, switch back to the player, and then as we walk to here, this time it'll switch to a camera that will be animated using a level sequence. So to begin with, we're just going to add the first trigger box. So I'll just go to basic, drag and drop trigger box, and we'll just position that into this walkway. I'll just expand it, and that will go to top view. Press the F key. Okay. Find that mesh is causing some problems. We can just hide that temporarily. While I'm looking at the scene, and I'm just going to make this trigger box a little bit wider and position it where I want. To perspective view, just make that a little bit higher. Make sure it's positioned there. So that would mean that the player will walk into that trigger box, and that will be used to trigger the new camera. Just save that. The next part, we'll just add the camera to the scene. Okay, you know how to create cameras, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to position a camera. So this is going to be a static camera from this point of view. So I'll just look for a camera. What we'll do is we'll throw the camera in, and then we know that we can right click on the camera actor and go to snap object to view. Now as you can see now, the camera has been moved and orientated, so it's matching exactly of the user's point of view. And if we move, you can actually see the camera position there. I'll just rename that camera static view. Okay, so that's the camera that we're going to switch to when we walk into this trigger box. Okay. It will be animated. Okay, it'll just snap to it, and I'll just show you that technique next. Okay, so we've made the camera and we've made the trigger box. We're just going to make a straightforward cinematic with add level sequence. I'm going to call it static camera sequence, and that creates our clapperboard. We've done that before. I'm just going to position that close to the static camera so we know where it is. And it's very straightforward. We're just going to select the camera, drag it into the sequence timeline, and it's only going to be a short view, which will be about 2.5 seconds in duration. I'm going to drag the camera cut matches up there. And that's all we need to do. Save that. And that will be 2.5 seconds in length. Okay, so back to here and save it. Okay, so next thing is we're going to go to the level blueprint. And we're just going to, oh, before we do that, let's make sure that we've got a reference for the level sequence player. And then we want to play that, so tap play in there, scroll down, select play sequence player. Just bring that down there so it's nice and tidy. So obviously this is an action which will play that sequence, which effectively will just show that static camera view, but we need an event to do that. So I'll just go back and save that. Go back into here, select the trigger box that the player is going to walk into, create a add event begin overlap trigger, and then connect it up to the play sequence, and compile and save. Now I'm going to tell you what happens when the player triggers the animation. The animation will play, and when it gets to the end, obviously the sequence has stopped and it reverts back to the player camera. The easiest way is just to show you. So I click on play, and obviously you can walk around, and as soon as we go into the box, it jumps to the static camera, and we noticed after 2.5 seconds it reverts back to the player's point of view. But you probably noticed if I just play that again, the player movement doesn't stop. So if I keep walking, and I'm still walking in the scene, we just can't see me. Okay. So we might want to stop that. We might only want the cinematic to show the room and then come back to us so we've got control over the player. I'll show you that in the next video.